She missed my daughter's graduation ceremony, yet never once missed any of her own son's practice sessions. And back then, I naively thought it was just minor friction within the family. Until that night, when she stood at the restaurant entrance, asked to leave by the staff, her makeup ruined, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold her purse. Only then did I realize, some people do understand love, they just refuse to share it with the ones you care about. She stood there frozen, anger and regret mixing in her eyes, yet she didn't dare say another word like, "I'm the parent." And I walked past her holding Emily's hand without even turning back once. 5 years earlier, I thought I had married a woman who would treat Emily as her own daughter. I couldn't have been more wrong. She never directly said anything harsh to Emily, never yelled, but her favoritism seeped out from the smallest corners of daily life. Like Christmas. Emily was 14 that year, Connor 12. We were opening gifts under the living room Christmas tree. Emily received an engineering sketchbook she had wanted for a long time, and her eyes lit up like light bulbs. But when Connor opened the expensive gaming headset my wife had prepared for him, Emily's smile quietly faded halfway. "I thought you'd get the same headset for Emily," I asked my wife later while we were in the kitchen. "She's not into games," she said while wiping a cup. "Besides, Connor's been studying so hard. I want to reward him." I didn't say much then. I thought maybe I was being too sensitive. But things like this kept happening. Emily got an A, and the whole family celebrated with a small ice cream trip. Connor got a B, and we drove all the way to his favorite pizza place. My wife even posted a photo online, captioned, "He worked hard. He deserves it." Emily was unusually quiet in the back seat that day. I tried talking to my wife, "You're hurting her like this." She snapped, "Stop being paranoid. She's not a little kid." "She's 15, I said. "So what? I can't restrict myself just because your daughter is too sensitive." That night Emily went to her room and closed the door very gently. I knocked twice. She said, "Dad, I'm fine." Really? But I knew that wasn't the tone of someone who was fine. The first time I truly felt something was wrong was at the science fair. Emily had always loved engineering and mechanics. She made a small bionic arm model with 5 movable joints. She had worked on it for 3 weeks. On exhibition day, she wore a navy hoodie and was so nervous her palms were sweating. "You'll come, right?" she asked my wife. My wife said, "If I can. If I can." And of course, I was the only one who showed up. I took a dozen photos and sent them to my wife. She replied, "Looks nice." At dinner, Emily stared at her plate. "Mom doesn't like what I do, does she?" My wife immediately denied it, "I never said that." "But you didn't come." My wife laughed a little, almost perfunctory, "I'm not her biological mother. I can't attend everything." Emily's fork dropped onto the plate with a clear ringing sound. For the first time, I saw that, being pushed back, look in my daughter's eyes. Not hated, just placed somewhere unimportant. That kind of hurt is worse than obvious dislike. Not only that, Connor's problems were always magnified and justified, while Emily's difficulties were minimized. Connor turned in homework late 3 times, my wife said, "He's under too much pressure. School is like a prison." Before an exam, Emily was so nervous her hands shook, and my wife said, "Don't exaggerate. A little pressure is normal." I often thought, if Emily were her biological daughter, would she say the same? Of course not. Whenever I raised the issue, she'd say, "You're biased toward your daughter. You're picking fights. You expect too much from me. Stop pretending we're a traditional family." Eventually, I went silent too. Until Emily turned 17 and received a full scholarship. I was making coffee when she ran downstairs holding her acceptance letter, her voice shaking with excitement, "Dad. I got it." I hugged her. It was the first time I felt pride burn warm in my chest. She wanted to show my wife. My wife was in the kitchen cutting fruit. Emily handed her the letter, her voice soft to the point of disappearing, "I got accepted, with a full ride." My wife glanced at it for 2 seconds, then gave a lukewarm smile. Nice. Then she turned to Connor, see how great your sister is? You'd better work hard too. Don't cause me trouble. The words cut slowly into Emily's excitement like a dull knife. Emily said, Mom, I didn't get the scholarship to make him feel bad. My wife snapped back, did I say you did? Don't be so sensitive. Emily froze. I looked at her, she seemed like a child pushed into the snow. She didn't fall, but you could feel the cold bite. That night Emily stood outside my study for a long time. Is there anything I can do that she'll actually see? She asked. I tried to comfort her, maybe she's stressed. But deep down I knew, she had never wanted to see Emily. And even now, she preferred going to the beach with her son over witnessing the first real milestone of Emily's life. This story wasn't an explosion. It was slow, suffocating accumulation. Standing at the kitchen window, I remembered the sentence that pierced everything. It's just a graduation ceremony, isn't it? My chest felt like something slammed into it. This wasn't a misunderstanding. Not a communication issue. It was the truth buried deep inside her. Emily had never mattered to her. And the only reason I didn't see it earlier was because I didn't want to admit my choice had been that wrong. There was another small moment when Emily was 17 that made me realize this marriage would eventually end. The school held parent-teacher meetings. Each parent booked 15 minutes to discuss their child. I booked Emily's slot 2 weeks in advance. My wife said she'd come. But the night before, she suddenly said, I can't go. Connor wants me at his practice. She said it so naturally, like the two events didn't require comparing importance. I said, you know this is her first meeting after receiving an honor award, right? She shrugged. You can go. My presence or absence won't make a difference to her. Emily happened to be walking past the stairs. She froze for a second, pretending not to hear, then walked back to her room a bit too quickly. The next day, I went alone. The teacher showed me Emily's project report and said, she's one of the most consistent students in the class. If she stays like this, she can get into any university she wants. I took photos and sent the teacher's comments to my wife. She replied with 3 words, got it. At dinner that night, she didn't ask anything about Emily's progress or look at the photos. Instead, she listened enthusiastically to Connor's training stories, laughing out loud. Emily ate quietly, her fork tapping the plate softly. My wife shot her a glance, can you not be so loud? Connor's talking. The air at the table froze instantly. I said, she's just eating. My wife immediately snapped, you always do this, always defending her. She's too sensitive. Emily put down her fork gently. It's my fault, she whispered. Her reaction wasn't fear, it was habit. And in that moment, I realized. My daughter had been trained to shrink herself around her. Later, I started noticing things I had overlooked. Like finances. One day I accidentally saw the credit card bill and discovered that over the past 6 months, my wife had spent triple on Connor's classes, tutoring, electronics compared to what we spent on Emily. I asked, why didn't you tell me about these? She kept doing her nails. My son struggles. He needs tutoring. You wouldn't understand. And what about Emily? She glared. Please. She doesn't need us to spend money on her. She can figure everything out herself. She said this while Connor was in the living room yelling for her to find his charger. And Emily was in the kitchen reviewing her graduation speech alone. That was when I realized, she wasn't accidentally neglectful. She was intentionally, consistently creating distance. I quietly photographed the bills. I didn't tell her. Not to fight, just for the day I knew would come. Another moment confirmed everything, Emily's place in her heart had never changed. 2 months before graduation, Emily needed parts from a hardware store for an experiment and asked my wife for a ride because I was working late. My wife said, I'm taking Connor to practice tonight. No time. So Emily took the bus alone. She returned after dark, holding a bag of parts, shoes wet, coat soaked with rain. When I came home, I found her wiping the floor. She only said, there was flooding near the bus stop. The next day, my wife was in a great mood because Connor ran a few extra laps at practice. She took him to buy new sneakers, as a reward. Emily saw the shoes, said nothing, and quietly put her internship application back into her bag. In that moment, a thought flashed in my mind. I would make her taste what it feels like to be ignored, replaced, and judged truthfully. Not for revenge, but so she could finally face reality. The chance came quickly. At Emily's favorite restaurant, she wore a light blue dress, smiling naturally, taking photos with her phone. Relatives and teachers arrived, the atmosphere was warm. Only I knew what would happen that night. My wife arrived 2 hours late, sunburned shoulders, hair still curled from dried seawater, wearing a thin cover-up and a "vacation is great" smile. She walked into the restaurant, saw Emily, and reached out, "Come take a picture with me." Emily pulled back slightly, her voice calm, "No." The restaurant went quiet. Everyone looked at her. She showed no fear, like someone who finally understood her right to choose. My wife froze, then forced a smile. "What's with your attitude?" "I wasn't late on purpose." I put down the menu slowly and firmly. "You don't need to sit. You aren't part of tonight's plans." Her smile fell completely. "What are you talking about?" "You're not invited," I said, my tone cold as ice. "You don't deserve to be part of Emily's celebration." She raised her voice, "It's her graduation dinner. I'm her parent. You're going too far." Emily lifted her head, eyes steady, "It's not your decision." My wife stared, stunned, hands trembling, lips trying and failing to form words. I set down the papers I had brought, not documents, just photos and records. Moments of Emily winning awards, working on projects alone, crying for my wife's neglect. No explanations. Just truth. She picked up a photo, her voice trembling, "This, impossible, you're trying to turn her against me." Emily stood beside me, voice cold, "Dad, this is reality. I don't need her approval." My wife turned pale instantly, pointing at Emily. "How dare you?" I cut her off, "You said it yourself, she's not your child. Now face the consequences." She tried yelling but was drowned out by everyone's silence. Her scream collapsed into gasps. Her eyes darted, desperate. Eventually she sat down, whispering, "No, no. I tried so hard." I said calmly, "What you gave was favoritism and lies, not love. Tonight, you have no place here." Emily held my hand, smiling gently. "Thank you, Dad." My wife's eyes finally showed real fear. After dinner, the staff asked her to leave. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped her purse. She stood at the entrance silently, glaring, powerless. A few days later, I took the second step. When the divorce papers arrived, she looked horrified. "You're really going to destroy this family?" I said calmly, "You destroyed it long ago. You just didn't notice." Court day came. The courtroom felt cold, heavy. She tried to stay poised, but her eyes darted anxiously. The lawyer recounted the past years calmly. Emily's hard work, every competition, every award. My wife's absences. Her indulgence toward Connor. The times Emily faced illness or anxiety alone. It felt like a documentary where she was nothing but a shrinking figure crushed by facts. She tried to argue, I did my best." The lawyer replied, "Your best. The child's interests were consistently neglected. The father has always been the primary support. That is fact." The judge nodded. The room silent. Her face shifted colors, trembling, her voice fading until she said nothing at all. The verdict came quickly. Primary custody to me. Fair division of assets. No right to child support. Connor staying with me. She stood rigid, lips white, collapsing inside. Later she tried contacting Emily and Connor. Emily rejected her outright. Connor said over video, "I don't want to go back." She tried threats, pleading, crying, every message met with indifference. Friends drifted away, community groups excluded her. Her efforts, excuses, fake concern, none of it mattered anymore. The night before Emily left for college, she asked me while packing, "Dad, am I too sensitive? Why do I still feel sad because of her?" I put an arm around her shoulders. "You're not too sensitive. You just once hoped to be loved. You don't need that anymore." She nodded and smiled softly. On move-in day, she walked toward the campus with her new backpack. She turned back and waved, "Dad, thank you for always being here." I smiled. "I always will be." Watching her walk toward her future, I knew that woman who once controlled everything was never coming back. Her fear, helplessness, and isolation, along with all her favoritism and lies toward Emily, had finally been crushed by reality. And Emily and I finally had the steady life that belonged to us.